If you're ready and excited to make a change in your life or even transform your life entirely, you will need an action plan in place so you know where to begin and exactly what to do to get started. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. Welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nena and I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. Here at this channel, we talk about everything having to do with our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and living our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please take a moment and become one because we definitely want you to stay connected. True transformation comes from making significant, lasting changes in our life. It goes way beyond just kind of changing how we live. We actually have to learn to change how we think. We also have to learn to perceive ourselves in a whole new way. And this is something that has to start from within, and that's very necessary to be able to carry us through the times when we feel that there's a lot of different obstacles in our way. So today we're going to go over the specific steps we need to take in order to make this lasting change in our life. But before we do that, I just wanted to take a moment to stress the fact that no matter how you feel about yourself or where you've been in your life and how many times you think that you have failed in the past, that real change is always possible. There are very few things or aspects of our lives that aren't completely transformable. So it's important that we start from a space of knowing and believing that fact, because without really believing that we are able to achieve our goals and reach our dreams and make changes in our life, those changes are not going to actually be possible. So we've got to start with that belief that this is indeed a possibility for our reality. So let's go ahead and jump right into the steps we actually need to take to make this lasting change in our life. And the first thing that we need to do is to commit to the change. So we've got to actually make the decision that it is not something that we are considering at this point. It is something that we are going to put into action immediately. And from there, we want to think about what we call the definite chief aim. I believe this actual terminology comes from Napoleon Hill, who was an author that wrote the books Think and Grow Rich and Laws of Success, but he really determined that the definite chief aim, or the really focused goal, is so important in being able to actually achieve those goals. So what he did was interviewed thousands and thousands of people, and he found out that 95% of them did not have a definite chief aim or any kind of specific goal. So they kind of just rolled with the waves of life and ended up where they ended up without really having a plan of action. Now, in terms of personal development, a lot of times we have a laundry list of things that we want to change about ourselves, and when we start thinking about personal growth, we want to kind of attack all the things at once. Now, it is possible to address many goals and many dreams at one time, but to be very effective, it is important that we focus primarily in one area, and that's where the definite chief aim comes in. So it is a very clearly defined statement of what we would like to happen. So once we have this in our mind, we can start to formulate a plan of how to make that happen. But if we're not exactly clear on what it is we want to be doing, it's very unlikely that we will be able to make progress in that area. So the questions we need to ask ourselves are, what is my definite chief aim? We've got to figure that out. What do I want? When do I want it? Why do I want it? And most importantly, how do I plan on going about achieving it? The second thing we need to do is embrace our new identity. So what I mean by that is that we no longer want to think of ourselves as the person that had the old habits or had the old life. We want to start thinking about ourselves as if we have already achieved the goals that we hope to achieve. So what's really happening here is we are disqualifying any thoughts that are disempowering, and we are embracing new thoughts that are much more empowering and much more conducive to helping us believe that we are the person that we want to actually be. A great example of someone who did this beautifully and quite successfully is the Olympian Mary Lou Retton. So if you were around in 1984, you know that she was the outstanding gold medalist that actually got a perfect 10. So after her performance, one of the reporters asked her, how do you feel? How does it feel to actually have an accomplishment like this? Nobody has ever done it before. And her answer started with a laugh, and then she said, well, I mean, it feels like it's always felt. And they were confused, and she said, well, I've done this 1,000 times in my head. So for her, this is something she expected to happen because she believed in herself, and this was something that she told herself was a possibility for her. So this is definitely something that we can really use in our own life, these beautiful empowering thoughts, and really creating the identity that we want ourselves to have and really becoming that identity. It's a matter of really training our subconscious to understand the vision of what we want our life to be. And of course, that starts with ourself. The next thing we need to do is really look at our mindset. So recently we did a video all about changing our negative mindsets, and I will go ahead and link that down below so you can check that out. But we want to see if there are any limiting beliefs or thought patterns that are really holding us back. So chances are, if we haven't been able to make changes in the past, that's because we have habits that are preventing us from doing so. And so many of those habits are just thought habits. They're thought patterns that keep us doing the same thing all the time. So we want to really do some introspection to see if there are any mindset habits that are holding us back. And again, if you're not familiar with that, go ahead and check that video out next. The next thing we need to do is think about the actual goal or change in a very practical sense and look at what steps are going to be necessary to make this change happen. So you want to go ahead and brainstorm and list out all the things that could potentially help you reach that goal. And from there, you're going to actually make an action plan. And what usually is helpful is if you can have a couple small little things that you can put at the top of the list that you can do first. Because when you feel that you've accomplished anything, even if it takes 10 minutes, it really makes you feel like you're all in on this goal and that change is actually possible because you've already started that process. So give yourself the smaller things to do at first and kind of build up from there. But you want to determine what all those steps are so you have a plan of action. The next part of this is looking at the steps that we have determined that we need to take and then actually using them to develop new habits. So we need to look at what we need to do on a daily basis to really change the habits that we had that were obviously not conducive to making changes in our life and to really replace them with new habits that are going to help us achieve our goal. Now we all know that, as human beings, we are creatures of habit and we certainly do not like change. So we want to make this as easy on ourselves as possible. So we want to remove any obvious obstacles in our way and just try to get through the initial process of developing a new habit. Because once it can become a routine, it is so easy from there because we are used to it. Our whole body is on board with knowing that this is what we plan to do every single day. So we just want to help ourselves through the process of creating and maintaining these new habits until they actually become part of our brand new routine. The next important step is to be our own coach. Now, we want to make sure, first of all, we are doing this to hold ourselves accountable for all of the changes that we want to make in our life and make sure that we're really staying on top of and staying on track with these changes. But we also want to make sure that we are being our own cheerleader, cheering ourselves on, celebrating our wins, and noticing our progress. So a lot of times we are so focused on that goal and all we see is the distance, between ourselves now and getting to that goal. And we're not really enjoying the process of getting there and embracing that journey. So you want to make sure that you are enjoying the journey and you are noticing your progress along the way, and that you are really giving yourself credit for making these changes in your life, because so few people do. You are doing something that, is actually very rare. Most people talk about change and never actually accomplish change. So just the fact that you are taking the steps is something to be extremely celebrated. It's also really important during this process that you are taking good care of yourself on both an emotional and physical level, because change is not always easy. So you want to make sure that you're practicing great self-care and that you are really meeting your personal needs to make this as easy and smooth as possible. So that is it. Those are the steps that you need to take to make those lasting, amazing changes in your life. And also take a moment to commend yourself to committing to personal growth, because it is growth in life that really makes it so meaningful and fulfilling. So really give yourself a lot of credit for that, and I wish you so much luck in your personal development journey. Please comment down below. I would love to hear what it is that you are working on and the changes that you hope to make in your own life. So I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please like it, share it with someone else who may need to hear this same message today. And also, if you aren't a subscriber, please take a moment and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. And I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.